Good evening to all of you. It's almost time. Can I start or? I see about, how many are there? About 41 participants. Okay, fine. Let's start. As I said, I'm Jesudasan. I'm a corporate member of the Institution of Engineers. Okay, I'm going to talk to you on Sri Lankan environment and cultural heritage. I know you have no way to communicate to me, but you can send a message if there is anything. Let me talk to you for about 45 minutes. Then I will take a few minutes in case you have any questions and then continue the balance. First of all, let me check whether my audio is clear to all of you. Can somebody respond or by a message at least? Is my audio is clear to all of you? Can you hear me well?
Yes, sir.
I do not get any response.
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
Yes, fine. Okay, thank you. Thank you. All right. We are going to cover certain topics today. One is Sri Lankan maritime boundaries, the economic zone resources within territorial waters, our history, ancient heritage, vandalism, preservation. We are also going to cover overexploitation of hill country against environmental sensitivity. The reason that we're going to cover the maritime boundaries and exclusive economic zone resources, etc., is to tell young engineers that the abundance of resources that are available in Sri Lanka, that you as young engineers should become aware of all the resources that is available to us. In the presentation, you will see how we are not using our territorial waters and the sea surrounding us, we being an island, how it is underutilized. So, I mean, this is to give you an idea how and why these resources are not used and how you are planning somewhere down the line as engineers, how you could plan your projects and to open your eyes on the resources that are available. In any development bring in some kind of destruction. So you as engineers going into development of any should look into our history, ancient heritage, and preservation of all that has to be in your mind, and that is why that aspect is also taken in this lecture. Of course, we tend to overexploit some of the resources that are available to us, and then you will see the depleting resources. And as engineers, we have to be mindful of the validity of or of the availability of the resources and their potential, and not to overexploit them. So we are going to cover these topics today, and with very little interaction with you all. I got to continue to talk. If there's anything, always give a message. Let's see about Sri Lankan maritime boundaries. We, as Sri Lankan, sorry, let me go to the previous one. Second. Okay. The Sri Lankan maritime boundaries, you will see it was established by Article 76 of the UNCLOS Convention in 1982. And maritime boundaries and exclusive economic zone that was established by that article, that was in 1982. Now you could see in the picture the kind of area that covers as our exclusive economic zone, and you could see the green color is Sri Lanka, and the surrounding purple color or brown color that you see is a very, very large area, many times higher than our landmass. So now you could understand the kind of resource that comes from the water to us that's not being considered very favorably by the Sri Lankans so far, thus far. So, I mean, in area wise, I will come down how large the kind of area that is available to us. Now, this is other boundary between Sri Lanka and India that also was established in 1972 and 76 by two bilateral agreements. So we have a boundary, and now in papers you always see there are fishermen encroaching from India to Sri Lankan waters, and there is always some conflict cases and etc. that's going on because that area surrounding Mana Basin is very rich in wildlife, not than wildlife, I could say maritime life, and a very heavy area for fishing. And that is why there is always a bit of a quarrel between Sri Lanka and India with regard to fishermen. Now let's study about these different zones that are available to us in the water. Now the first 12 kilometer, okay, first 12 kilometer. Now this is internal water. Internal water, what you see is what is inside the land. So that's exclusive for Sri Lanka. I mean, there is nothing, nobody can come to our territory. But then there is also next area is 12 kilometers, which we have all the powers, anything and everything as something similar to the land. So all the, anything, say when we talk about this territorial sea, we talk about what's above the water, the surface, below the water, and below the sea level as well. All that one is covered. So the first 12 nautical miles is completely for Sri Lanka. So we have all the rights as much as we have in the land. All that is available. Now, when we go around Sri Lanka for the 12 nautical miles, you can see immediately the kind of area that's available to Sri Lanka become extremely large immediately. Then there is a next 12 kilometers, the contiguous zone, which is the next 12 kilometers of that is from the land. We talk about 24 kilometers. Okay, so first 12 kilometers, the territorial waters, and then the contiguous zone comes 12 kilometers thereafter. Then you come the 200 kilometer zone. So we call it exclusive economic zone. After the 12 kilometers, the balance. Okay, let's see how and where we have the rights, and we will see in the following slides how our rights are for the Sri Lankans, the rights that we have over these waters. Now, if you see previous one, even in the air, even the national airspace, what you see, these 12 kilometers, even the airspace is that belongs to Sri Lanka. So if you see to the land, if anyone need permission to come, as much as to come inside this water or in the air, one need to have Sri Lanka's permission, because this is exclusive zone for Sri Lanka. So as the laws that are applicable for someone to enter the land is almost applicable to the air in the 12 kilometers as well as the sea. So these 12 nautical miles is almost amounted to 22 kilometers. Okay, I mean 12 nautical miles is another unit. Nautical miles is another unit. Okay, we'll see the first 12 kilometers of 22. Okay, can you see? Confer full sovereignty over the waters. Sri Lanka has full sovereignty. Whatever that's applicable to the land of Sri Lanka is also applicable to the territorial waters over the 12 kilometers. And you can understand immediately it becomes, gives a 21,500 square kilometers. Sri Lankan land mass is about, if I remember correctly, somewhere around just below 60,000. So we have immediately have got 1/3 of land mass, 1/3 of our land mass immediately. 1/3 of a land mass we have got as our territorial sovereignty over the waters. So immediately you will see the resources that we have has been increased by 1/3 immediately. Then the next zone, okay, which is the next 12 kilometers. Okay, the band of water extending from the edge of the territorial water sea up to 24 nautical miles. Okay. Unlike the territorial sea, the contiguous zone gives only jurisdictions to the state on the ocean surface and the flow. Now, in the second one, can you see? So as I said, one is surface, then the column of water and the flow. When you look at 3, when you take the sea as 3, of course the air as well above the surface. If you see the next 12 kilometers is what is under Sri Lanka is the surface and the flow. Okay, the meaning is the water column is not under Sri Lanka. It means 12 kilometers, 12 nautical miles away from Sri Lanka, Sri Lankan land. The column of water does not belong to Sri Lanka. That is what the contiguous zone says. So we have the surface, which is the surface where the water, also subsoil. Subsoil is the flow bed, the bed flow, or can say the bed of the sea, where we are talking about petroleum. In the 1 second, there is a message for me. How many kilometers nautical miles, please? I hope I gave that answer. 12 kilometers. Okay, sorry, 22 kilometers is 12 nautical miles is about 22 kilometers. So we have the kilometer, then we have the mile, then we have the nautical mile. Nautical mile is little above mile, and so 12 kilometer is amounted to 22 nautical miles. Sorry, 12 nautical miles amounted to 22 kilometers. Okay, so in this zone, you could see our rights are at the surface and the sea flow, which is the subflow below the soil below the water column of water. I think in the Mana Basin there have been loads of talk, and if I remember very well, I think 2 days ago I saw a news item saying that the natural gas and the petroleum product is enough for 60 years for Sri Lanka and all that. But we have been talking. I remember when I was a schoolboy, seeing a helicopter flying in that area all the time, because they were talking about an exploration of oil. I mean, that's been many, very many years ago. But Sri Lanka, for some reason, have not looked at this potential, whether to extract the petroleum underneath or not. It has not been. It has been only a matter of news item for many years. For now, many decades, it has been a matter of a news item. So we have not, I don't know, for some reason, the leadership has never looked at to go into the subsoil to find the resources that are available for Sri Lanka. Then we go to the next, the 300, the outward 370 kilometers or 200 nautical miles. We call it the exclusive economic zone. Now that's about covering 570,000 square kilometers. So it's a huge amount of area. So there, besides having the sovereign rights to the surface of the water and in the water column, seabeds and subsurface. So having sovereign rights to resources in the water column, seabed and subsurface. So we have not above the surface, is not for us. So water column is there. Then the seabed and subsurface is for Sri Lanka. Now you can understand how large this place is. Okay. So below there is a news here. Okay, I said it's somewhere around 60,000. You could see our land surface is only 65,000 square kilometers. And now you understand how far our water resources that we have. And you as young engineers should aware of these resources that are available. Okay, we have not gone into the detail of making use of these resources that are available to us, and that is something has to come into your mind as engineers, because over and over we have been looking at the land mass only, whereas the water area that's available to us is almost 10 times the land mass that we are having. We think always we are a small island, but considering the water surface that are available, or the water that are available to us, could be considered I mean, comparatively with a large country as well, because there are landlocked countries with no water around them. So compared to them, we have some amount of landmass plus water put together. It's an extremely large area. Now, just now I'm actually summarizing it here. The land surface is 65,000 square kilometers. Our coastal line is 1,340 kilometers. You could understand there are countries who are trying to get 2 kilometers of waterfront, which is seafront. And they are in conflict in many countries to have that waterfront because of access of seaport and etc. And there are even conflicts for those. But see the amount of coastal line that are available to us. 1,340 kilometers of coastal line. That's an absolutely huge amount of resources that we are not really looking into as one of our resources. What we are always looking at is the landmass. Our focus has been far too small for very many years. We are only considering the 65,000 square kilometers and never looking at the coastal line. Then our territorial waters is 24,000 square kilometers. Exclusive economic zone is 570,000 square kilometers. Now, you would see our fish production, or which is actually the major revenue for us from the water, is 2% of the GDP. Just imagine, 10 times our the water surface or the sea area is 10 times our landmass, and our fish production, we being an island, is only 2% of a GDP. Now, this is a kind of an eye-opener for all young engineers, because you should understand always the potential around us. That is a big eye-opener for all of you. It is very important for you. Okay, before there is a question, let me take that one. All right. Okay. The question is, what is the starting point of economic zone? Is it starting from the baseline? Okay. Now I think I'll go back to the previous slide. Then that will give you an answer. Okay. Now, where the exclusive economic zone starts after the 12 kilometers. So we have the 12 kilometers, the territorial waters. Contiguous zone is 12 kilometers. So this is starting from here itself. So it is basically 188 kilometers after the contiguous zone is called the economic zone, which is starts. Oh, sorry. Economic zone is okay. That one. So the entire distance is 200 kilometers. I think I made a mistake. Okay. Entire from the landmass, the entire coverage is 200 nautical miles. Is that clear for that person who raised the question? First 12 kilometers is the territorial waters. Second 12 kilometers, which is actually you can start from the land, which start at 12 kilometers and end up the 24 kilometer mark or 12 nautical miles. Sorry, this is 22. I am messing the numbers all the time. This is 12 nautical miles and ending with another 12 nautical miles. Exclusive economic zone from the land itself. So the baseline itself starting the 200 nautical miles. Okay, so you could see from the land itself 200 kilometers goes as the exclusive economic zone. All right. Any more question that I got there? Okay. Now I think I can just pose a question at this level. Now this is one particular resource that we spoke about. Can some of you type or just mention other resources that you think that we have in Sri Lanka, which has not been utilized? I mean, there we saw two. One is the coastal line. Second, the sea. We have actually two huge resources I mean, I also must mention the coastal line. We have been talking about the water, but the coastal line is also one of the one huge resource. Okay, we have been underutilizing it in a big way in Sri Lanka. With other than few hotels and few fisheries harbors, we have not really looked at the coastal line to we have not put the coastal line into big use. Some of you, please, can you type some of the other resources you think that we have in plenty, but we have not looked at it? I would take half or 30 seconds for you all to type. I think let me give some of these answers. Okay, so definitely solar is one of the big resource that we have. Location, yes, our geographic location is a tremendous resource for us. Rocks and minerals, absolutely. Some of you have said. Wind energy, yes. Wind energy, of course, we are close to. We can say wind energy, but also you should remember we are close to equator. The further we go, whether north or south, towards the polar regions, the wind force become much more larger. Okay, the wind force close to the equator, it is a bit lower. But we being an island, yes, we have certain amount of wind power. We cannot, rule out that one. Then okay, that's an absolute new thinking that has come called human resource. We that is absolutely true. See, because we were under English from young age, we were able to have the access to one of the international language. For some reasons, most of them are political reasons, we did not exploit that one to our maximum potential. So we probably are moving in the direction a little bit now, but I think that is one of the biggest advantages that Sri Lanka has, and we should make use of that one, because we as a small island, we should always trade with international partners, and to have the knowledge of an international language is a huge asset. So apart from the technical knowledge or other education that we are having, the communication that we have developed because we were under English, and that was given to us, not, I cannot say given to us, but I think we got access to that one little more earlier, so that we have to definitely use it to the maximum potential. The drinking water, yes, all the rivers that are in the southeast or southwest area are basically running to the sea. It is true, and that's where the heaviest amount of rainfall in Sri Lanka. And okay, the rivers that are going towards the western central part of Sri Lanka, or more the north central part of Sri Lanka, are mostly into are being utilized, etc., saving water. In the, I hear a disturbance. Please. I hear a disturbance. Okay, fine, I guess. Okay. So I think the rivers that are mostly in the southwestern part of Sri Lanka are directly running into the sea. Hardly it is serving any, farming, etc., unlike the north central area of our country. So that is also one of the resources that you can always think of. Any other energy? I mean, space. We always can, definitely. We have space. Wave. Okay. Wave. If you see the energy from waves, actually that is connected to our coastal line. So it is possible apart from the coastal line that you got to have it. I'm continuing to hear some trickling noise. Is it a fault of or somebody's microphone being activated? I think SS Best, your microphone is active. Can you please? Hope SS Best has muted the microphone. Right. Okay. Fine. Still, SS Best is. Can I notify the administrator? Can you please look at this SS Best? There is the microphone is active, and keep on sending disturbance. All right, fine. So let's move to our the other area. This is actually a small lecture, I could always say, because this covers a very small area. You need to have a little more reading for you to widen up your area, because when you come to the examination, even though I have considered only one resource to open up your eyes, some of you have mentioned many kind of resources. You got to have enough information before you going into your examination. I mean, this is something I just compared. We have this square area put together. We have 570,000 plus 65,000. Okay, so we are more or less close to. Can you see this? Afghanistan, we seeing a huge country, have only 652,000. We are touch and go there. I mean, they have no resources, no water around them, no sea around them. So we look like a small country with a huge amount of water around us, which gives us loads of access than a landlocked country. So I just took it for a parallel analysis, how we always think that we are a small island nation in the Indian Ocean. I think, politicians can say it, others can talk like that. You engineers, we cannot say ever that we are a small island nation. Yes, landmass can be small, but our resources around us are far too huge. I mean, really huge. Okay, some of the other resources that comes to mind: sunshine, clean air. There is one in Sri Lanka. I mean, I not long ago, maybe around 4 or 5 years ago, maybe I was in Beijing and also in Shanghai for 5-6 days, and I could not see the sun. It's not. It's like overcast, no sun, because it's so much of dust and no clean air. Okay, our biodiversity is huge. Our biodiversity is huge. If you go to some other countries, you can drive for kilometers and you will see the same thing. You can drive for maybe next, say, 3 hours, 4 hours, and you will see one kind of vegetation or a land. In Sri Lanka, it's not so. In half an hour, it will change from one to another. Okay, from coastal to upcountry, you can change it maybe in 1 or 2 hour drives. Okay, so as I said, many wet rivers in the red zone. These are all some came to my mind and I put it. But as you all should know, to read more about the resources that we are having before you go attempt your papers. I've just given few. I mean, some of you could put more than what I have put here. Let's go into the other area, history and ancient heritage. First of all, you should understand why we are going into this area. One should as I said, any development cause certain amount of disturbance to what is there. Let it be a power installation, let it be a civil construction, or you put a dam, you put a canal. You can go into anything and you will disturb what is there. So when there is something of that nature takes place, we engineers have to be very mindful of some of the important factors, how they have come into, and not to disturb too much of people surrounding, their feelings. All that one comes into play. I just put down some of those important, landmarks. As I said, Balanguda man said this to be lived here 38,000 years ago. Then our first kingdom, Tambapani, was established somewhere around 6th century before BC. Then we have Pandugabya, setting up his kingdom in Anuradhapura, 4th century. Then we have 3rd century, we have a new change came into place, a religion coming into our country. Arhat Mahinda bringing in Buddhism to Sri Lanka by 3rd century. Then also we should understand by 3rd, I think the chronicles of recording them started somewhere in 3rd century, in those Mahavamsa and all this, documentation started somewhere around 3rd century. Then there are also periods from 993 to 1000, which is about 1000 years ago. We were under Chola for a while. That also take place. And also prior to that one as well, all of you know, even Duttugamanu defeated a Chola king. So we had that kind of in-between rulers as well in Sri Lanka. And apparently, and I went through it, and there are 181 monarchs from Anuradhapura to Kandyan period. So we had number of them. Then we had the European domination from 1505. Then the part of Sri Lanka was all the time under Europeans at that time. Then from 1815, the whole country came under British. Then we have the rebellions in 1818 and 1848, independence in 1948. This is all small history. I don't think that is needed. I think it has gone into this unwanted. Okay. There was a coup. Okay. Then 1972, we moved to from how to say it? We were a Commonwealth country to a republic. Then we had civil wars from 1970 to 2009. So what happens is now we are again going through some other turmoil. Now, you as engineers, the reason that I put some of them is, if you see our life, if you see the development that have gone in, all these eras have left their footprint on us. Every time. Now, if you see our law system, we are following the Dutch Roman law. Then we have the Tesavalam on one side, Kandyan law, then the Muslim law. Then we also have the developments that have come into place. They always reflect these eras. So we as engineers, when we go in, one thing, we should know them. Second, we should be mindful of them, that they also have certain footprints in the people that are living. Now, ever since 3rd century BC, Arhat Mahinda bringing in Buddhism to Sri Lanka, that concept has gone into the people. So somebody who is doing a development, working into something new, should understand the importance of that in the minds of the people. Similarly, every era, anything you call it, have left a footprint on Sri Lanka. There are cultural sites, there are people's cultural systems and languages and religions have gone into places because of these changes. And as we are doing a development, one should be very mindful of all these changes, because they all have left a footprint in our country. Now, now, apart from the languages and dress codes and the structural development that gone into, there are also laws that have come in. As I said earlier, different kind of laws have come into place. So you as engineers should become aware of all that. Once, because you're also going to be people's managers. Now, because you are going to be people managers, not only the development, also you're going to deal with people. So you should know how their culture, their language, their routines, the footprints that the society has left on them going to affect the way that you are going to work with them. If you do not have that knowledge, or if you overlook, you will always see creating more conflicts than solutions. We engineers are supposed to provide solutions. And in your solutions, you have to be mindful of all of them. So that is the reason that I have taken that, to give you the importance, or tell you the importance of all these eras that have taken place in Sri Lanka. Let it be any one of them. If you go to a specific area, and if you are going to do a solution, and if you fail to consider the aspiration of the people, the language they have, the culture they have, the footprint that they have gone into, you will always create more conflict. So in your people managing also, you will see how failing to note those can create trouble for you. So as I said, engineers being solution providers, be mindful of all this. This is a very minor area, but I thought it is very important that I give you this side of it for you to ponder and go into the detail of it before you prepare anything. Now, you all know we do an impact analysis study before development is done. Now, they look at it only the scientific side of it most of the time. Then they will also look at the cultural side of it to somewhat, but they sometimes fail to look at all that. And then you will see projects are suspended midway. Okay, funding is hard to come by sometimes because there are a lot of parties start to protest. So some of these reasons, some of the reason that a project run into conflict is because we fail to do a holistic study of all this. So apart from the scientific kind of destruction or the changes that are going to come in, look at the other changes as well, especially when you become people managers. You will see how the importance of understanding everybody's culture, their language, their importance will help you to run, to manage people very efficiently. Any notes that you are going to put in? Anything? Anybody want to say anything? Can I take about a minute? All right. Since none, I hope this is a very small area. One has to read and understand a little bit more before you attempt the examination. Very, how to say, this particular topic can have many views. So substantiate your view when you are attempting a question. Okay, that's very important. When you attempt a question for this kind of topics, there can be very many views. My view can be different from your view. There's no problem. But substantiate it properly in your writing. If not, you will see your examiner cannot understand your view. So it's very important that you substantiate it. Okay. Let's go into my next topic. I told you I'm going to take only 3 areas today, because this is a small lecture. Even though they allocated 2 hours, I don't think you need 2 hours to do that one, because in this particular area you may get only 1 question. You may, and the area is very small, so I do not require 2 hours to cover this area, because many of this one has to be go into your reading. I have taken the water because over exploitation of resources. This is also one area that we have to be very, very careful. I should, before I start, I should draw certain parallels. Now, I don't know if any of you have traveled to Jakarta, Indonesia, the capital of Jakarta. They have started building concrete walls by the side of sea area, because sea have started coming in, not because of anything else, because over exploitation of groundwater they have started taking water, and Indonesia is a very heavily populated country. I think the capital itself is very heavily populated, and that one country that I have used to go many times because of my business, and at 2 o'clock in the morning you can see traffic jam. That's the kind of country. 2 o'clock in the morning, and because they have been extracting too much of groundwater, the land has started to sink, and especially the North Jakarta. If you go, yeah, it has the water. They have now sea is coming in to the country, and it has become a major problem. So now they are planning to move the capital Jakarta to somewhere else. I saw about 6 months ago in a news article, move elsewhere else. Well, that's a part. The reason that happened is over exploitation of resources. They have because of the human habitat, they have extracted huge amount of water. Do a bit of reading, you will see what the damage that has done to the country, and country have started to sink. So now the seawater coming in, and they are building concrete walls all along to prevent seawater coming in. Now here I'm going to take another aspect, which is also water, the drinking water. How we are over exploiting, and how we are going to go into trouble if not managed properly. Now we all know our drinking water comes from the hills, and the rainfall is very essential, and we call it the upper watershed, and it's very essential for us to continue to have the drinking water. Now what has happened to the hill country is, many years ago there was only vegetation. Then with English coming into this country and plantation starting it, they have started taking out all the jungles and to go into plantation sector. Now when they went into plantation sector, they also have to cut roads, etc. And with the change of vegetation, what comes next is erosion. Then also you need land to grow crops. So then you cut some more land to grow crops. So what all that has done is to decrease in forest cover. Now when you decrease the forest cover, what comes next affects the upper watershed and soil erosion. Okay. Then the other issues comes in, like reduced forest cover for animals. Like that, there are other how could say other effects of when you take the forest cover. Now the upper watershed is absolutely essential for us to have continuous water. Now because of change of vegetation, which is the forest cover going out and going into agriculture and crops, food crops, and also for plantation, the other part go into with that one is the usage of fertilizer and pesticide. So you know what happens. We use them and they all get absorbed by the soil, go down and come down to us with water. So we are creating to solve one problem, we create other. So we have to be very careful in this approach. I mean, that is why I took the upper shed water for this study. Now this is the population, and they think somewhere around, now we are around 21.5. They think it will peak at 238. I think there's a figure wrong. 2.2 is not that. It's actually 28.2 if I am correct. Maybe the 8 is missing, I think. Okay, that's where we are going to, or 22.2. That's where they think it is. That's the projection. So we are going to go. We are not still growing. We are going to peak somewhere around to 238, 2038. That's in about 16 years time. Then probably we'll start to decline. The reasons you all know, our lifestyles have changed. The number of children have gone down in families, and there are other reasons, economic reasons, that we all go and the marriage age, lifestyle wants are different than raising family, etc., etc. But anyway, that's the part that's not under this topic. This is actually I'm showing how our population is projected, where we are and how we are going to project. The more it's going to grow, the more we are going to exploit. Now this is the growth rate. As I said, in 2038, okay, 2038, we will going to hit 0, and after that we are going to decline. So at the moment we are at 0.39. So our growth rate is relatively small, but still growing, So this I actually taken from one of the study of Gunawardena, maybe a old one sometime. It's pretty old. This was projected at that time, but I really don't know, in between the wars, etc., migration of labor, migration of people to another country. I don't know how much this has affected the population graph at the moment. Perhaps you could look for a very relevant kind of relatively new data, which will have a different projection and a different change of population growth in Sri Lanka. Now I'm actually, the reason that I analyze the population growth is that I'm comparing that one with the forest cover. You can see how the population growth is given by this line, which is going up, and how the forest cover is coming down so heavily. And so we are somewhere come to somewhere. Now this is 1981, and we have come down to somewhere much lower. So at the moment, this is also 2003 old data. So this is also by Gunawardena, because he studies all about how the forest cover changed with our population, what our population growth has done to our forest cover. So that because of that, I took the data from that. But the reason I am analyzing the population growth is because with the population growth, what happened? Our needs started to go up, and we started to destroy the jungles and the vegetation too much. So this is the forest cover from 1990 to 2020, which is only a 30-year period. The reason I took this area is, you as young engineers, most of the people would have been born in this era, and how during your lifetime, the forest cover has changed in this country. This is your lifetime, not long. You cannot keep blaming others. Your lifetime, what has happened to our forest cover. Now, when we went down to this low, somewhere around, how many? Somewhere close to something like 32, 33%, or it's a 34%, something like that. What has happened to other developed world? Germany is 32%, Italy is 32%, Luxembourg is 32%, very small country. Korea is 64%, Japan is 68%. Singapore, that tiny nation, is managing 22% of forest cover. Can you believe it? And then that small area, there are 4 million people, so heavily populated, heavily crowded city, still managing 22% of forest cover. Japan, over 100 million people, and many volcanoes, blah, blah. Apart from that, still managing 68.4% of forest cover. Now, you can understand how we have gone down, how we have mismanaged our forest cover. It is absolute mismanagement of forest cover in Sri Lanka. So, it's an overexploitation, nothing but overexploitation. Because somebody can turn around and say, no, to develop the country, you need the landmass, so we cut. Look at the countries like Korea and Japan, far more developed. We are almost in line with Germany, Italy, but our Luxembourg, we are lower than Luxembourg. So their development is far greater than us. But their forest cover is almost, Luxembourg is higher still. Other countries are almost there, and much more industrialized countries. And Korea, Japan, they are not developing country like us. They are developed version, the countries, and you can see more than almost double. Their forest cover is almost double of us. When I saw this study, it's a World Bank 2020 report. Singapore is having 22% of forest cover. I couldn't believe. And I thought what we have been doing, nothing but raping our forest. That is what we have been doing. Our development is fast, uh, smaller compared to the destruction to the forest cover. That's what we have done. So you as engineers going to become decision makers sooner should be mindful of what we have been doing to our country and how our resources are depleting. This is our say rainforest. When you say this is the area, the wet zone is basically giving us loads of rain, and you can see how much the forest cover. In the dry zone, we have maybe war may have contributed to this one. In the dry zone, we have more jungles now than the wet zone because we have kind of cut them off. And the downfall of that one is what? Less amount of water for us. Now, this is the hill country rainforest cover is marked. You can see the forest cover is so small, so small. We have really damaged them, I could say. So we have lot of repair maybe has to be done for us to go up to some level. Now I'm talking about the degradation of watershed. Now watershed is what we have, the upper watershed. Now clearing the highlands for plantation crops in the latter part of the 19th century. That started there. Latter part of 19th century, we started it clearing. Then by removal of the forest cover, associated soil erosion, the problem was identified. Actually, the English identified the problem. We are going to cause a lot of trouble to this country. They identified in 1873. So midway through the plantation being developing, at the time of developing the plantation, they understood the trouble that is going to cause to this country. So they identified far back in 1873. However, very little was done then. Only 1927, some kind of small action started, almost 50 years later. Okay. By that time, it became very physically visible, the sea erosion. Okay. And sometimes at times destruction to property, because then what comes? Landslide comes in and loss of lives. So those started coming into play, and then people start to open their eyes. Only when whatever they put together become damaged, people open their eyes. Okay. Destruction to the property, because soil erosion became larger, then destruction to the property, loss of lives. Then only in 1935, we have gone into a land development ordinance in 1935. And the Soil Conservation Act was introduced in 1951. Now you can understand, after 100 years only, we open our eyes. Maybe we were under British and we did not have much of room to play. I mean, you could say that because they were exploiting our country. You can say that. But even then, we actually continue to adapt some of the policies they had and to destroy our jungles. That's what we did. We never learned it from what they did and to improve. Okay, there is a note here. Japan and Korea preserve their forests and buy wood from third world countries like Malaysia, Indonesia. I don't say no, they are smarter. Why Malaysia and Indonesia has to cut their jungles? In fact, many years ago, I think they do. There's a season. Indonesia burn their jungles, clear the jungles for plantation, and the smoke was so thick in Singapore, we hardly could smoke. I was in Singapore at that time. We hardly could smoke, and apparently they told me this has been happening every year in that burning season. So some other countries, yes, they save their own wealth, national wealth, and go after somebody else. I mean, this the countries do. So it is up to the leadership and the professionals to understand this and to protect our national wealth. Then we actually went into upper watershed management only in 1970s. First holistic broad-based watershed management project started in 70s, which simply about 150 years from where the destruction started. That was pretty much later. That also they thought because of water, not because of anything else, because they thought, okay, we have to manage the upper shed water. If not, there can be more problem for drinking water in the even place like Colombo, because the rivers come from top. So 1989-98, Forestry and Land Use Mapping project started. The National Environmental Act number 47 of 1980. Okay, the importance of it actually talks about the importance of environmental legislations, provides umbrella coverage for environmental protection within the country. So we now the acts have come into play. I hope the implementation is good too, because if not, immaterial of what act we have, we continue to destroy them. Okay. And after that one, we also have started some improvement, deforestation. We started from 15,000 hectares in 1993 to 46,000 hectares in 1998. So there is some importance went in, but I think if I'm correct, in the dry zone, especially towards the north central and that area, during the war, there was a lot of destruction to the forest, deforestation, which mostly was done with teak in that area. And there was major destruction to the teak plantation. And part of them was robbing, because when there is a war, there is a lack of application of law. So anyone and everyone can abuse the what do you call, the resource that is available. So the amount of resource that are available there, it has depleted, or I don't know to what level the reforestation of 1993 is available this today, because during the time of war there was very much destruction, very especially the teak plantation in the northwestern and north central provinces, I could say, towards much more towards the north. There were a lot of plantation and lack of application of law allowed the warring factions to exploit the jungle as much as they wanted. Okay, engineering solutions has always had a major impact on society, that you all know. In some cases, this impact has been clearly positive, such as in case of house appliances and water purification. In some cases, of easy packing, and probably some of us thought it gives us more, how to say, easy way of living. But now we all find from nylon to nylon ropes to anything of packing material to anything of plastic is having their share of negative impact at the moment in the society, which is very much felt. So engineering solutions, you as engineers should understand must have a broad mind first in your study. One, how much you are depleting the resources that are precious to us. Second, the long-term impacts of some of your engineering solutions that you provide to the society. Always, if you have a short sight, then you tend to have a solution which give solution to one group of people or one area of your issue, while creating a larger problem to another sector. So be mindful of that when you are doing solutions. There is another one. Okay, there is a this one. So we are having power cut now. So can we have the PDF to refer? Yes, this PDF message will be emailed to him. But anyway, I think I will send the PDF to IESL and they will share with you. I don't know when I'm going to have the power cut. That's why I shortened the lecture. I know, because these are smaller areas, one need more reading. I only will only give an outline and to open your eyes a bit. There also, I have put in some cases it is more negative, okay, which is dynamite when it invented for one reason, but it is being used for destruction more now. Okay, so okay, I think if you read this, let me go. Many cases where the engineers constrained with limited view of the situation, not aware or could not possibly imagine the impact their product could later have on the society as a whole. Okay, CFC when we produced, okay, it was a solution for easy air conditioning, and it was the best solution and much more affordable solution at that time. Later we realized that it depleted the ozone layer, and that is why I always said, I have said it is paramount that the engineers have a solid understanding of the impact of their product locally as well as globally, so that we can make a sound evaluation of the pros and cons. Now, so I started with depleting resources for you to, and I took only one example of our forest cover and the water, but for you, it is to open the mind of many other resources that we will be using in your when you provide solutions. Also, the deep study that you need to have when you're providing a solution. If you are short-sighted, you tend to solve one problem while creating a larger problem. That's basically my lecture. Engineers need to work as part of teams, communicate well, and understand the economic, social, environmental, and international context of their professional activities. So I started this lecture with the kind of resources that we have, and to have your mind open to all the resources that we have, at least in this country first. Then I went into how the path that we have walked over the centuries, the impact that it has left on us, and how an engineer be mindful when he's finding solutions, because all those paths have left footprint on us. An engineer must be mindful of all those when providing solutions as well as when managing people. Then I took the next one, how we have to be careful with depleting resources. The resources are so limited. How we have to be very careful and mindful when we are providing solutions. Also must have a deep study, so that we should not give one solution while creating a larger problem, right? That basically is my lecture. I will so this is the summary in the last one. Understand the enormous resources available, have a wider approach, be mindful of our history and heritage. Every era has left a footprint. Social leadership includes safety, empathy factors be included in our approach. Understand the environmental impacts, give attention to depleting resources, have a holistic approach. That basically is my lecture. If there's anything that you want to know, I am there for you to raise any questions. Okay, all sharing this, uploading is part of IESL, because this lecture is being recorded. So they will upload all that information to you. Before I wind up, is there anything more that you need to clarify or raise, any matters that you raise before I wind up this lecture? Okay, there is something here. I understand the contiguous zone. Okay, that is about the what the rights what we have in different. Maybe let me go to that one. Oh, sorry. Okay, let's see. There are three areas. This is territorial waters is full sovereignty. There no question, exactly like the land. Contiguous zone, you will see, gives only decision to state on the ocean surface and flow. So it is not, see, these are international pacts. So what is covered under each area is part of the international pact. So this is maybe the same with many other countries, how they define these zones and what right they give to the country on that. Now, for what area, for the first 12 nautical miles, they give you the full right on whether it's a surface, column of water or subsoil. For the next one, they are giving surface and subsoil, leaving the column of water. For this one, right below the surface of the area, we also resource. So besides having sovereign rights to resource of the water column and seabed. So surface is subsurface. So in the exclusive economic zone, the surface is not for us. So in the first area, all three, if we say the surface, column of water and subsurface, in first 12 nautical miles, we have all three. The second one, we have no column, the top and the bottom, no column. The third one, no top, the middle part and the bottom. I mean, these are all defined by the international treaty. So they kind of look funny maybe to someone, but that is how they have done it. Full question. Do we have one full question on this part? I have no information at the moment, but there can be. There can be. One full question is possible, but maybe a part of the question as well. There's one more. Okay, they say contiguous zone is not part of the economic zone. Okay, let's see the previous diagram. See, exclusive economic zone is after the territorial water, all this one is economic zone. So which is the 12, okay, leaving the first 12 is no big issue because everything for us. You can say, I think, look at this particular one, you will understand what is what. Exclusive economic zone is 200 kilometers, or I could say less than 200 kilometers. It is 188 kilometers from the territorial waters. So which covers the contiguous zone as well. But it's funny, for this one, for this area, we have no column of water is not under us. Beyond this one, surface of the water is not under us. So here, surface of water is not for us. In this area, column of water is not for us. In this area, we have all three. So the rights changing zone to zone. There are some more. Should be memorized. I cannot answer all that one. End of the day, learn to articulate your answer in a way you got to substantiate everything. We are not politicians. We are a professional body. We cannot simply say a statement. We have to substantiate. I mean, this is in professional answers, one has to substantiate. So when you articulate it and when you substantiate it, your answer becomes complete. So what you remember, how you write, is up to you. But always have a wide amount of reading on the resources that we have. It is very important because I can only take one topic and analyze it. Same way, the last part of the depleting resources, I took one. But you as a person going to do an examination, have a wide analysis of all that. Because this could be a part of the question, this could be a complete question. That up to the examiners. Okay. So let's let the examination panel choose how the question going to be. but always articulate the question with whatever diagram that you can have or whatever data that you can put it, so that you substantiate your writing. Okay, that's very important. When you substantiate your writing with correct data and information, then your answer become very good. Otherwise, there is a difference between politicians and us. They don't need to have a data. They just off the cliff just deliver. No need to tell. No need to substantiate it. But we should. Any more on this? If there are none, let me close the lecture. Thank you very much. I know some of you had a problem with the power, etc., etc. Thank God I did not have a power cut. Otherwise, I would have gone off there too. So thank you very much for taking part. Where somebody else, all right, you say thank you, sir. All right. Thank you very much for all of you.